Hello and welcome back to another movie review. As always, I'm Kelly, and I just got a Raya and the Last Dragon. And I am not going to beat around the bush on this one. This movie was freaking awesome, and I loved it. I'm not even joking. If you just want to know whether or not this is worth watching or not, it is. Go watch it. Just go. Just go. Is it a perfect film? No. It does have a couple of small issues, but they feel more like nitpicks. This is definitely one of the films that overcomes its flaws and then some. With that said, if you're actually trying to figure out whether or not it's worth paying the $30 extra on Disney Plus, short answer is maybe. Just like with Mulan last year, Disney is trying to push you can get it on Disney Plus, just pay us $30 extra. And it feels like it's a ripoff, especially when theaters are starting to open up, at least limited, theater releases. And I only had to spend $10 to go see it, so I don't know. I will fully admit that Utah is under a different logic space than most of the country that seems to take COVID a lot more seriously, and rightly so. But I also feel that my theaters are doing a pretty good job of keeping everyone socially distanced in the theaters. So with that said, I'm kind of torn. If I do recommend this film, I'd honestly recommend seeing it in its cheaper format, because an extra $30 for a 48-hour rental, or even if it's a month-long rental, feels like a little bit of a scam. It really does. But that's just the business around the movie. That has nothing to do with the actual quality of the movie itself, because the quality of the movie itself, as I said before, is just amazing. It is so well done. And apparently most of this was done during the COVID pandemic of last year. So it's really telling what you can get done from your own home. And it's amazing. If for nothing else, I would recommend seeing this film just to support the animators that were able to do such an amazing work, given just how shitty the last year and a half really has been. But I'm not gonna lie, this movie kind of feels like real movies are finally back. Not just, a Netflix drip here or there, or the movies that literally no one cares about from the studio perspective because most of them were garbage anyway. It really feels like we're coming back to normal, hey, we have a really damn good film out that you should go out and see. But with all that said, I can't really talk about anything more without going into spoilers, so if you don't want any spoilers, you just want to skip to the end, see my final verdict, as well as my final thoughts, here's the time code. So from here on out, there be spoilers. And of course, always starting off with the good, the animation is gorgeous. But that's pretty par for the course for Disney Animated Studios and for Pixar, which I'm pretty sure this is from the Animated Studios, same as Frozen and things, not Pixar. So it's not really a surprise that this worked out the way it did. It is a surprise that it worked out the way it did, considering that most of these animators were probably working from home and probably couldn't coordinate like they used to. But good animation would really be nothing without the good story, and that's where this movie excels. This story is just amazing. And it's pretty much your standard fetch quest storyline for kids. The world was once peaceful thanks to the power of this gem that the last dragons made before they died. But because of humanity infighting and them trying to steal the gem, it gets broken, and it releases the enemies that the gem was holding back, the druids, I think is what they called. And the gem shattering in 5 pieces releases the druids, these gelatinous kind of weird black purplish blobs that whenever they touch somebody, they turn them into stone, and they go off and ravage the land. After years of living under these things, Raya has gone in search for the last dragon in an attempt to try to put the world back together. She finds the dragon and finds out that if she gives all the pieces of the gem to this dragon, it empowers her and could potentially save the world. But the movie realizes just how bog standard this storyline is. So instead of focusing on that, it focuses on the characters, Raya and Shizu in particular, and just really fleshes them out. The amount of emotional depth that goes into Raya in particular, as well as her arch frenemy Namari. I said that right, Namari. I'll put it down here. Namari, that's her name. God, it's a really bad day when I can't even say the character names, let alone the actors' ones. The relationship between these two literal frenemies, they were at one point very close to becoming friends until all this shit went down, and you can get that sense of respect each other has for the other but they can't get past their issues, their distrust, their disloyalties, and everything just baked into this storyline. There's actual emotional depth to these characters, and it's so engaging. And what's best is that it doesn't really talk down to the audience, like a lot of kids' films tend to do when they try to have more, heavy stuff like this. They leave it out there full display and let it speak for itself, and trust that your kids are smart enough to understand what's going on. Though do keep that in mind for a little bit later. I'll bring it back up in the negative section, because there is one aspect of that. While 90% of it is good, there is a small sliver of an issue that might come in handy, especially if you go to the theaters. But going on with the good, not only is there emotional depth in all of these characters, they have so much going on in just the general set pieces and action scenes. Every location they go to is unique, that brings its own challenges. Even if they throw in the stupid butt jokes with the bugs that have little glowing butts, the exploding fireworks they shoot out of their asses is still something that's visually pretty freaking awesome. But the canyon area that those were found in have nothing on the open bazaar that's built on top of the water, because the only thing that repels these druids as water or the gem. So start building near rivers. But every time you go to a new area like this, it just brings in so many different and unique elements. No two places look anywhere near the same. You can definitely feel the cultural influences on each of them, whether you're going to Fang or Spine or going out to Tail. It's all unique. The closest thing I could probably compare it to is this is pretty much what all the four nations in Avatar: The Last Airbender feel like when you're first discovering them. And to add more icing to the top of this cake, they utilize every single area very uniquely, and they plan out some pretty freaking awesome action sequences inside of this. Like, by God, the amount of choreography in every fist fight or just duel with swords, it is so enjoyable to watch. I've seen a lot of animated action sequences. I love anime for a reason, and I can tell you that this film is on par with some of the best ones I've ever seen. That is saying a lot from a family film like this. And yes, I did use the word family. Unfortunately, that's going to have to tie us into the negative. This is not a kid's film. Now, when I say that, there is a distinction. Family film is meant to be enjoyed by everyone. Kids' films are meant to be enjoyed by little kids. And in particular, the negative connotation with that, a lot of kids' films tend to be the kind that, jangle their keys in front of you to get your kids to sit down. If you go to this film thinking that your kid will be, planted in his seat and actively enjoying it, you may have to ask your question, how old is your kid? This is definitely made for younger kids, but definitely not too young, because if they are, I'd say, below the age of 10, they're going to get bored pretty quickly, and they're going to, run around the theater, which is what happened at my showing. All of the ones who looked pretty much older than 10 were sitting down attentive and enjoying the hell out of it, but the little kids did not, and they did not appreciate being dragged to the theater for it. And I think the movie itself is kind of self-aware that this might be an issue, because the other aspect of this movie that really drags it down is the comedy, which really sucks. And I will say that it's a shame. The comedy is not the main focus of this. This is definitely more of an action adventure, but the comedy still needs to be there to help you get through, some of the harsher moments, so to speak. But the problem is that the comedy tends to go for bottom of the barrel whenever it can. Either that or it goes into the kind of referential comedy. And unfortunately, it takes you out of it when these characters live in big fantasy land with dragons and magic stones and martial arts and everything start talking like a Twitter thread. These characters are talking weird, and I get what they're trying to do with it. They're trying to make it a lot more relatable for kids and talk their lingo, but this is as bad as a 90s PSA trying to do that. Pull back from that and stick to what you're good at. And of course, they go for the bottom of the barrel humor, where I mentioned the bugs that have glowing butts that explode. Yeah, they instantly go pretty much every single joke you could possibly make about exploding butts. Because kids. Now, that doesn't mean that this movie actually is so bad that I say don't watch it all. far from it. I just say that these moments are not going to age well. The rest of this movie is pretty much timeless, except for this one black spot on it. It's almost a perfect picture that somebody spilt ketchup on. And I can say, despite that small little issue of the film, 95 to 98% of this is amazing, and it might just be in my top 5 best Disney films of all time, or at least my top favorite. I'd have to, go through and really ask myself which ones I like more, but definitely it is up there, and I highly recommend that everyone go see it. So it should come to no surprise what my final verdict is going to be. On my scale, this one is a must-see, my highest rating I could possibly give it. Go see it in theaters. You will not be disappointed. And it'll actually be cheaper if you go see it in theaters. Although, if COVID is a risk, maybe just wait for Netflix. The $30 on Disney Plus seems like a ripoff and price gouging. It really does. Maybe if it wasn't exclusive to a service you have to pay for to get access to already, I could probably be a little bit more okay with that, but no, I have to say, if you're worried about COVID, wait for the red box, or hell, just go buy it the second it comes out. There's a better $30 spent. But if you can go to a theater, this is a must-see, and I highly recommend that you go see it as soon as possible. Movies are finally back, and I am going to enjoy the hell out of it. And that's it for me. Have you seen Raya and the Last Dragon? Tell me what you thought about it in the comments down below. Let's get some healthy discussion going. As always, if you wanted to see more, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz to help this channel grow up, so that maybe one day I can do this a little bit more consistently without, falling off the wagon like I have. Also, I stream on this channel every single Thursday night, and with my school coming to an end in the next month or so, I'll probably have a lot more consistent time schedule on that one. So expect it around 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, assuming that there's nothing that gets in the way of that. If there is, I will have put updates on my Twitter, which you can follow in the links down below. And yeah, that's it for me, so I guess I'll see you guys next time.